We're so glad to have Congressman Broun here with us to make some comments on the amnesty, the fact that people are calling President Obama a dictator. Does that fit? Does a dictator respect constitutions, senates, the people, or does he decide on his own and work unilaterally? What do you say about it?
Well, the president has certainly acted unilaterally. What he's done is against the law. It's never been done by any president before. It's certainly unconstitutional by any stretch of the imagination, and we must do everything that we can to stop it.
So do you feel like the amnesty is somehow going to backfire before Congress, before everyone that's supporting him? Or do you feel like he just doesn't understand that this is damaging, that this is meaning, for instance, we've listened to people who are in the unions and they're complaining about all the workers that are going to be coming in. How does he feel like this is going to help America?
Well, he promised us when he first ran 6 years ago that he was going to transform America, and he's been very successful in trying to build a socialist society where he can and does anything that he wants to, and this is a good example where he has proven that what he promised he was going to do, that he would do. And the American people need to stand up and say no. The most powerful political force in America is embodied in the first three words of the U.S. Constitution, we the people. He has brought forth a constitutional crisis. He is acting in a very dictatorial manner, acting as a monarch or whatever you want to call it, and he has no authority to do so. And Congress needs to put his foot down and say no, we're not going to put up with this, and the American people also need to say no. And in fact, members of Congress are going to be influenced by their constituents calling them. And I encourage people all over this country to call their U.S. senators and call their congressmen and say, stop this amnesty, stop this illegal, unconstitutional act by this president who's acting way outside the law.
How could this possibly be fair to the people of the United States when they're required, employers are required to provide insurance, and now they can hire these people that have just gotten amnesty and then they won't need insurance? Why? How does that help the people? How is that fair when the employer is being rewarded for going around the system like that?
Well, it's not fair, and it's illegal actually, that what the president has done here. He's just rewritten laws himself. He's done that on Obamacare and over again. He's doing this he's rewriting the law on this amnesty program, and it's just got to stop. And the American people need to say no. We need to say no to him. We need to say no to the Democrats that are supporting him, and we need to make sure that this does not go forward.
So going forward from here, we are looking at funding or not funding, and we're actually going to be funding a dictator or not funding a dictator. Isn't that what it boils down to?
Well, what we have to do is stop funding this illegal act by this president, and that's absolutely what I have been proposing. I've written op-eds. I've been proposing that to members of Congress and the House where I serve, and what I believe very firmly is that we ought to have a very short-term continuing resolution that defunds this illegal, unconstitutional act of the president, and send it to Harry Reid, and get him, if he wants to shut the government down over that, as he shut the government down a year ago. It was Harry Reid that shut the government down, not us. In the House, we continue funding the government, but this is an unconstitutional, illegal act that this president has brought forth, and it must be stopped. And he must be held accountable for that.
America has every right to say no to funding a dictator or the actions of a person who's a wannabe dictator. So we need to say no. Enough.
Absolutely. Enough is enough. We've got to stop these executive orders by this president. And actually, presidents of both parties are guilty of writing executive orders that are unconstitutional. And that practice must stop, and then right now is the time to stop it. The American people need to understand that. In Hosea 4:6, God says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge," and we have just a tremendous lack of knowledge across this country about what government should be under the Constitution. In fact, I carry a copy of the Constitution in my pocket all the time, and what I encourage people to do is read the document. But not only read what the Constitution says, but read what our founding fathers said about this, and they'll see that government has just gotten way out of control. Both political parties have built this government that's out of control. Both political parties have spent money that we don't have. Both political parties have created this debt. It's over $18 trillion now. And both political parties are guilty. The American people need to stand up and say, no, we're going to go back to the Constitution as our founding fathers meant it. And so that's what I encourage people to do. And this act of this president that's illegal and unconstitutional of giving amnesty to over 5 million people needs to be the beginning, the catalyst to get the American people to say no to this out-of-control government as well.
Just carrying a Constitution is a great way to remind people, just reading it, we all studied it, but reminding ourselves of what it actually says can help us hold him more accountable.
Absolutely.
So
and not
what a
only
great
reading,
suggestion.
Not only read the Constitution, but read what our founding fathers said about it, because this was never meant to be a living and breathing document that can be changed at the whims of a Supreme Court or a president or a Congress.
It's supposed to be set in stone, isn't it?
That's right. It's a solid foundation.
This
and we have
is what he swore to do. He swore to uphold the Constitution, correct?
Against enemies, both foreign and domestic.
And domestic,
and these policies are domestic enemies of the Constitution. And so is amnesty. And it has to stop.
And
it's up to we, the American people, we the people, to say no.
So we're going to be having to pay for all these people that he's trying to grant amnesty to. The budget was $7 trillion, now it's $18 trillion just since he's been in. This isn't going to help the debt at all, is it?
And you're correct. It's unfair to the working people of this country. The rich people will be okay because they have the money to be okay. But and then you have entities like the U.S. Chamber and big businesses that want cheap labor. But we have a broken immigration system. It must be fixed. But this is not the way to fix it. This is going to make it worse, and it's going to create a lot of fraud, a lot of I think more illegal aliens come in this country expecting to have amnesty. And we've seen that happen over and over again. Anytime this kind of action has been even discussed here in Washington, it must stop, and it's up to the American people to stop it.
We wouldn't need an immigration department. We might as well put them on leave and not pay if we're going to do it like this, right? What are they supposed to be doing?
That's right.
Handing out Social Security cards? All right, thank you.
So much.
Thank you,
God
Congressman
bless you.
Brown, and God bless you.